Hello, this is Scott Churchson from the Sports Den, and welcome to Spangler Sports World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250 and 249. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android devices. When you download, kindly make sure to rate, leave a comment. Both apps are free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and also all smart TVs 2016 and forward. And how you gentlemen doing out there? Hope everybody's out there doing well in internet land. This is Scott Churchson, Obie Spencer, and the Mr. Rob Stats, or actually in this case at the bottom, at the Rob Stats, doing the Queen Wave. And this is the Sports Den. Hope you guys are doing well out there. We got a bunch of stuff we're going to cover today. Cover a little bit of Major League Baseball. I've got 5 facts that you guys probably don't even know, statistically speaking. We do have our Obscure Sport of the Week coming up at 3:30. I am looking forward to that one with you two, because this is on the vein of knuckle hopping. So first off, how you gentlemen doing out there?
I'm great. Just enjoying the fruits of my labors from Memorial Day weekend. Got some family time in, got some house repairs done. So feeling like a truck hit me, but like I said, enjoying the work.
So basically, this is the part where I have to tell you that you have the 10-minute monologue today, right?
Yes, that I got it right now. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, you got this. Rob, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. Same as Obie. Enjoyed my Memorial Day weekend. It got a little rained out the first 2 days, but rallied yesterday. So I'll do my shout out a little early before we get started on that, though, to my Uncle Stevie, a.k.a. Uncle Spanky, Vietnam vet who was the Grand Marshal in the Weehawken Memorial Day Parade yesterday. So shout out to Uncle
Very
Spank.
Cool. So
well, I've actually referenced Uncle Spanky on here before when I had my Kappa Mope shirt in the beginning when we first started last year.
I feel like I heard that name before. Yeah, because when you hear the name Uncle Spanky, there's you get so many thoughts running through your head about what that could be. Ironically enough, for me, the first one is Little Rascals. But always had a crush on Darla when I was 4 years old, not really understanding the whole concept of time, and the fact that she was probably about 85, 90 years old by the time I actually started watching. I don't even know. But we got a bunch of stuff we're going to cover today. Maybe spend a little time on the Knicks, because right now they're kind of hanging on by a thread. Possibly a little NHL playoffs in there. I know you guys have some stuff as well that we're going to run with. Believe it or not, I actually do not have a shout out, shut up this week. This is a rare case where I'm not going to be griping and complaining about something as much as I normally do. Anyway, aside from yada yada, the Yankees, can't win a game to save their life, and there's calls to have Aaron Boone fired. Again, we talked about this a couple months back, but in this case, leaving me out of this, let's start off with the shout out and shut up. Rob, you're already halfway there right now.
Well, I have another shout out though too, because actually the Uncle Spanky one was kind of spontaneous. I didn't really. I knew my other one though was shout out to Naomi Osaka for just doing what she needs to do. Like we've talked about mental health a lot on this show, and she's kudos to her. I kind of wanted her to hang in there and just go full beast mode, Marshawn Lynch, and sit there and do a press conference, answer every question saying, I'm just here so I don't get fined. I'm just here so I don't get fined. I was really hoping I wanted to see that, but I understand what she's got to do. And my shut up is in the same vein. It's shut up to every sports organization, every team, every, league, federation, whatever, that thinks professional athletes are their indentured servants. And they have to do whatever they're told to do without considering their health and well-being, which is you have to go out there and talk to the media, knowing the media is that going to put her in the crosshairs and take shots at her. So it's getting kind of old. It's getting played out. And I think we're all sick and tired of it, especially the athletes. It's like I said, it started with beast mode a couple of years back. He's like, I don't want to talk to the press, man. Because if they don't like you, they twist your words around, and they just find a way to make you, to vilify you. And it's what they still do. It's there's no reason, you have to go sit there and talk to the press after you played a bad match. It's I played a bad match. Go watch the tape. Leave me alone for 2 hours. Let me go eat a donut and, calm down and have some, space and to clear my head and everything. So that's my shout out and shut up for the week.
I'm just going to add on this. I have done losing locker room, interviews and everything like that. It is one of the worst feelings. You have to be a very specific personality to do that. And I hated the experience. I vowed I never wanted to do it again. With everything that I have with the NYCFC, that I'm very fortunate. Every article I write is pretty much a puff piece. They could lose badly. I'll mention it, but I still walk away with that feeling of like loyal fandom and not being like, all right, so basically you just lost this game in a really humiliating fashion. It's brutal. It's as bad a loss. How do you feel right now? It's like, dude, that's one of the hardest things out there. And there are some people, like I said, they're wired to do it. God knows I couldn't be, and I don't know how you guys would be with that either, but props if you can do it.
I remember in college, I was on the student athlete advisory committee, and our head basketball coach, who was a legendary coaching legend in college for Division III, Charlie Brown, he was a principal in Jersey City, became a coach, won hundreds and hundreds of games. And we were setting up to do this like fundraiser. We had National Student Athlete Day, and we were supposed to meet after the game to go over some stuff. And he coached men's basketball. They had blown a 20-point lead in the second half to Ramapo. And I remember just sitting in the office and going, man, we ain't doing this tonight. Like, he doesn't want to do it, whatever. And I walk in, he's in kind of the conference room talking with some people after the game. And I walk in to hand out stat sheets and packets. And he's like, hey, we got to do that thing, right? And I'm like, yeah, you want to do it? He's like, don't worry about the game. He's like, we got to do that thing. And like you said, it's people who are wired that way. And we went in his office. I was like, and I actually remember sitting down and going, if you don't want to do this, he goes, not the first game I've lost by 20 points. Probably won't be the last either. But like, we sat there, we hammered everything out in like 20 minutes. And it was like such a learning experience for me of like, wow, like I wish I could compartmentalize things. But you're also talking about a guy who's probably at the time had over 50 years of coaching and administration and guidance, for student athletes and young people, where he knew what he had to do. And he said he's just wired to know how to handle that situation. And yeah, it's a lot of people, especially today, like athletes are not wired to handle that. Like it's difficult for them.
All right. So first of all, Scott, you may not know this, and I may not be 100% accurate, but I believe it actually was Clara's granddaughter. She was went to high school. She was a year older than me, or a grade ahead of me, actually. In our high school was Clara's granddaughter. I'll give you full details off air. So there you go, Clara. Your crush was in school with you.
Interesting. I was not aware of that. I don't know. Growing up in our case, the only one I remember was we had the blonde woman from like Kate and Alley.
Yeah,
that was like the only one that I remember from our town, because we had like nobody.
We had the Kristen Kirk and
Allison Kirk and Allison Smith, I think it was.
Yes. No, but so this is the granddaughter of Clara, as opposed to someone who's actually currently doing it. And so I'm in your conversation that you guys just had. So let me start with the shout out and shut up. My shout out is just in general right now is into women's sports. We saw the NCAA softball on ABC this week. Simone Biles just did, but I'm not going to try to say the name of it because I'm going to say it wrong, but it's an incredible vault where she's doing the 2.5 pike flips and landing it. She does it in the Olympics. Another vault named after her. Men aren't completing that vault. Naomi Osaka, like we just said, is risking everything for her mental health. And it's one of the biggest subjects we're covering in sports night right now. We've talked on this network on our show about women's hocky more than once. The ladies NCAA tournament was probably better than the men's NCAA tournament. Plus, the way they were hosed in the beginning was big news. I just feel like we have actually reached the golden age of women's sports. I didn't even mention MMA and other things. I just think it's here, and I think that that's the new direction that sports are going to be going in. My shut up. I'm a little different than you guys about the Naomi Osaka issue. So my shut up was reflecting you last week, Scott, was to both sides on that issue. If Naomi says she has mental health issues and she cannot do press briefings after, that's fine. I believe her. I take her at her word. But I also understand how the organization wants her to do stuff. But for all four majors to gang up on her, as opposed to trying to reach some compromise, and there are tons of compromises in this case, she only has to, an easy one that came to my mind right away was send her in the questions in written form and let her answer them afterwards, a certain amount of time afterwards, respecting that her mental health is there. Because there is a fine line between antagonizing the athlete intentionally and asking tough questions that are analytical and understanding what's going on out there. That is a line that exists. Athletes get paid a lot of money and they get a lot of fame. Does not mean, like you said, they're not indentured servants, but they also do have some responsibilities to the organizations and who they work for. Mm-hmm. And some of that, for some of them, is going to have to be going out there. But again, as you were saying, Rob, there are different types of athletes and different types of folks. Some, look, if you're a bench warmer, but you have an outgoing personality, that opportunity to talk every day after a game is valuable to you. It gets you 1, 2, 3 more commercials in your life that you never would have gotten as a bench warmer. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't stress you out. And the Marshawn Lynch's of the world, who are the stars of the team, who don't want to be out there, you're only hurting them and hurting the product by putting them out there. So this whole thing is, but the shutout, the reason this became a shutout for me was this is a situation that went from complicated and contemplative, a great conversation like we started here, just ugly and gross. And it didn't need to go that way. And the situation in all is complicated and contemplative because there are different people who get different things out of it and different people looking at it for different reasons. That interview, that fame, that do I just want to be competitive in the athlete? I'll take less money and just don't put me on camera versus guys who, are fame. I mean, you guys in your industry, I'm sure you've seen guys who want to act and never go in front of the camera and guys who just want the fame. Those things are going on every day, everywhere you guys go. And Scott, I think I may have used my full 10 minutes for you there to get that monologue in.
Well,
actually, I want to follow it too because I just got an alert on Yahoo. I don't know if anybody could see this. This is
kind of
a Yahoo alert. If you're upset with Naomi Osaka withdrawing from the French Open, you haven't been listening. And I skimmed through the first paragraph, and it just goes back to how in like December of last year, she talked about how uncomfortable she was and everything. And like Obie makes a great point. I remember the Women's World Cup in the 90s when the women won the first World Cup, and Mia Hamm basically put that entire team on her back in terms of media exposure. And she was just like, there were other girls. They're like, do you want anybody else? And Mia's like, and they said like, she didn't really want to be, she was such a team player. She's like, you can get Julie, you can get Brandy, you can get Brianna. And they're like, no, Mia. And they were like, okay. And again, it goes back to people who are wired to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And I remember her just kind of carrying the torch for that entire tournament. And it was like, she was like running, doing like appearances, going to practice, doing appearances. And they're like, dude, she's like, you're going to burn her out. Like, finally, I think when they started playing, it was like, okay, just doing like pregame or postgame. Like, that's it. Like, yeah, hopefully it's something that people start to understand better, even the media, sports organizations, and other athletes. Like once they realize how serious it is for certain athletes, until they realize that, it's not going to get any better. Hopefully everything works out and Naomi's back for the next tournament, the next Grand Slam, and it's not as much of an issue if she doesn't want to talk to the media.
I think it's going to be one of those things that's going to be changed through, fighting tooth and nail. I mean, she took, a fine on this, I think it was $15,000, to have that statement, so to speak, to be like, I'm not talking about this. But at the same time, because we are in such a fast-paced world, there's going to be so many people that are going to fight that change because they want the instant response. They want the fast response. I mean, Obie, you said the idea of having questions filled out on a form and then either read them or, post it online or whatever the case is. That won't satiate a lot of people that want that instant gratification first post. One of the issues that I think happens with social media right now is the fact that there's such a large race for retweets. The faster you post, the faster you comment, even if what you're saying is not even accurate, as long as you're fast to it, you get the likes, the retweets, and the impressions. And you get your little moment in the sun, if you want to call it that. Like I said, you could be dead 100% wrong, but you're the first one there. And that's the more important thing, I think, in today's society when it comes to journalism of any sort.
I'm just going to disagree with you on the today's society part. I think that has been
okay. I think I see where you're going, but all right.
Yeah, I think you watch black and white movies. They're all rushing to the telephone to get into the newspaper. But
how the system is done, versus like a His Girl Friday kind of thing. If I'm going to make that kind of a reference there,
right?
But in this case here, also because of the fact that so many more people, when it comes to social media, are their own sort of amateur journalists, so to speak. I mean, Twitter is replete with people that are liking, commenting, and retweeting on this with their opinions, with their thoughts. And again, it's a lot about being the first one to do so. And that's where I think a lot of the problems are going to come in. That's where I think change can happen, but it's going to be a very slow, fighting tooth and nail kind of methodical process before that kind of change ends up happening. Now, I think also to add to this, the mental health aspect is one that I think people don't necessarily understand. I think in this case here, if you have a mental illness, you understand the mental illness. If you don't, you can't. You can understand it to your level of degree, but if you've never dealt with it, if you've never battled it, you don't understand to the degree someone who actually has it does. When Robin Williams committed suicide a few years ago, I was talking to a guy, and he could not understand the concept of why couldn't Robin Williams just buy more things for himself, when he's battling depression, that kind of thing. And like I said, if you've never battled depression, if you've never battled anxiety or any of these other disorders, you don't get it. You can try to, maybe you can have empathy, for what they're dealing with, but you will never truly, truly understand it until you're living in that world. So,
yeah.
And
agreed.
We got serious for a second there.
Well, I think this is a serious topic because it is a serious topic and it should be treated seriously. Think of it. She was willing to get fined every day. Mm-hmm. She was the money was not the issue. It's not what made her resign. It was that they were going to not let her compete. Mm-hmm. That is what made she was willing to go out there and spend all of her personal money, basically mm-hmm. gambling that she was going to win enough in the tournament to pay for her fines, which she probably was, to go out there and win and mm-hmm. not have to be on stage afterwards. And that in itself is a huge statement
giant statement
about mental illness, right? That's how I'm going to treat myself. I can afford $15,000 a day I play to not talk to you people. That's a lot of money.
And then that in itself becomes its own story.
Yeah.
And trending on Twitter. So, all right. So we are now 20 minutes in at this point. Find us always on Twitter at SSW Sports Den and on Facebook at Spanglish Sports Den. This, by the way, is the Sports Den. Who would have thought that? Rob Stats, Obie Spencer. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about baseball at this point. We got the obscure word coming up in this case, but I've got 5 statistics that I pulled up that you may not actually know that I think are worth actually talking about a little bit here. I can figure out where I put them. That's always a funny thing. Now, talking about how time is changing everything. The Houston Astros, the world's most popular team, the fan favorite team that is out there, is currently best in baseball with a .267 batting average. And their strikeout rate is 17.8%. They are the lowest by 3.5%. Second only to them is San Diego at 21.2. We're dealing in a strikeout world. The team that is best known for the trash can and the asterisk has the lowest strikeout rate by a wide margin across Major League Baseball. I know, yes. What does it mean? I don't know. But it's very interesting because, like I said, they got the highest batting average and lowest strikeout rate. I don't know if they're doing anything. I'm kind of hoping they're not. But if they are, and if they get nailed again, I think I mentioned this on Obie's show, they are going to go full whistleblower. They are going to say, okay, Dodgers are doing this. Yankees are doing this. You're busting us on this one. This is what every team is doing right now. And I think they are going to go full throttle, blow up the entire league to save themselves the second time. That's number one. Do you know, by the way, right now, who has the most errors in Major League Baseball? What's that?
We're just going to skip past Houston and now go to errors.
Well, they're random facts that I just happened to pull up. Literally, okay. like I pulled these up 20 minutes before the show. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So I was a little bit in a rush, but
that's okay. Who has the most errors?
In 35 games, it's Fernando Tatis. He has 14 errors and an .892 fielding percentage, which means that more than 1 out of every 10 times he gets the ball, he makes an error.
But he hits moonshots, so that's fine. That's the thing. Yeah. He hits bombs into the Pacific Ocean, so San Diego fans don't really care.
Exactly. Yeah, no, like I said, with the money he's getting paid on that thing. Now, you guys remember an era when Major League Baseball pitchers would go 6, 7, 8 innings. Right now in the league, the Dodgers have the longest outings by starting pitchers. Do you know how many innings on average that they're doing this year?
5.
5.7. The team with the most innings pitched on average for all of Major League Baseball is down to 5.7. That's your best. Your worst right now is actually Toronto at 4.69.
So Toronto starters can't even win games.
Not even getting 5. The Mets are at 4.8. They're third worst. So even though
you got to factor into how much, like, what's DeGrom averaging? If the Mets are there, and DeGrom averages like 7 or 8 by himself, that means like the other guys are like extremely low.
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem there. Where, like I said, pitchers used to go 120, 130 pitches. Now they're going 70, 80 and pulling them. And as a result, they're going to the relievers a lot more quickly. Yeah, the Mets are actually third worst right now at 4.8, despite that amazing pitching staff that they've got. Which, by the way, I was at that game on Saturday, the one where they hit like 4 home runs and scored 13 runs. It was a cool experience. Enjoyed it. It's cold as heck, though.
For what it's worth, DeGrom is going 6.375 innings.
Thank you for looking that up. Speaking of DeGrom, as you may also know this, that he
I know this one. Magic number. You're going to say something about the number 7, right? That's your DeGrom stat.
That's there is a number involving a 7. Yes. Okay. So, do you want to take it away? Please be my guest.
Yes, DeGrom has given up 7 runs, and he's been responsible with his bat for 7 runs, having scored 3 and scored 4 and has 3 RBIs. So
that's not where I was going with it, but actually it's good to add. But it is a 7.
Okay, that's my DeGrom stat today.
His ERA 0.71 for the year. He is so low at this point. That second one is Brandon Woodruff at 1.27. He has a half a run ERA lower than the second best ERA in baseball. And the last one, and we're going to end out with something a little bit more on the depressing side. The 2021 on-base percentage is 0.312. So 31.2% of the time, the on-base percentage, it is the lowest, it is the second lowest in 50 years. 0.311 was the worst ever. We're at 0.312 this year. So 68.8% of the time, a batter is making an out.
See, that's crazy, because I understand that strikeouts are being treated as an out. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't necessarily the way when we were kids. But a walk is also being treated as an accomplishment that wasn't necessarily the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that on-base percentage has dropped that low, because batters are up there looking for a walk or a home run. And now they're not even getting the walks. So that would explain why we have a pitcher with a 0.71 ERA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what's interesting is that baseball this year has a 24.2% strikeout rate. So 1 out of almost 4 times a batter is now striking out. That one year that I mentioned, 1972, where the on-base percentage was just a titch lower, 14%. So 10% more often, they actually put the ball in play. So baseball has become a swing and miss league. And I think I mentioned this to you guys last week. There's so many TV shows out there that are crushing Major League Baseball in the ratings. I think we talked about this on your show. Golf is averaging 9 to 10 million right now. NASCAR is on the rise. Sunday Night Baseball. Rob, stop. Already mentioned this on this show. Obie, I don't know if you remember.
I think it was on my show you mentioned.
It was on. Okay, so this is an amazing thing. Sunday Night Baseball averages about 1.53 million viewers every Sunday night, just as a base mark. There's a show on the Learning Channel called Sister Wives. Sister Wives is a show.
You did mention it on this one too. Yeah.
Oh, damn it! I thought it was the only one.
Mama, refresh it, because I forgot the number. I forgot the numbers, so feel free to rehash it.
I was actually hoping.
But I do remember Sister Wives.
Yeah, the show Sister Wives, the show that centers around polygamy, pulls in better TV ratings, going right up against Major League Baseball. This is our society right now. Baseball on the way out. I don't see it really surviving another 40 years at this point, unless change is hard. Add power plays. I don't know. Add aluminum bats. Madden cards. Put Madden cards in.
I know. I've been constantly thinking on this, and we discussed some changes, but something kind of integral to the sport of baseball that gives it a weakness truly developed in my mind as we've been talking about this over the last several weeks in different places and with different people. Baseball is a sport that is designed for you, and it always has been designed for you to go and watch there. Mm-hmm. Because baseball is about the tension. And that tension is developed with 50,000 people much better than it is developed with 4 people, even before you had the phone sitting in front of you to go on to the next thing. So when you're at a baseball game, you feel it. Now, I've been to football games. I've been to close, awesome, meaningful football games. And they're still not as good as watching on TV because the game is so hard to see because there's so much happening. But baseball, it's easy to see and to watch. And I've been to some meaningless baseball games. You're going to the 7th inning, and it's a 1-0 game, and one of the pitchers hasn't given up a hit. It's the dog days of summer, and everyone's glued to their seat. The hot dog guy can't get a sale. It's just, I think baseball, so that means if you're a baseball owner, you need to find a way to continue to maximize your profits via TV, because that's where the money comes in, but understand that your product needs to be filling the stadium. And I think that's just one of the many things I'll probably say over the next however long this show runs about the problems with baseball, because you got to be there to truly enjoy a great baseball game. And I don't think the same stands up for like football or basketball. Hockey, I think, suffers the same thing. Hockey is 3 times better when you're sitting in the stands than when you're watching on TV. You just can't see the game on TV the way you can when you're there.
We did a poll when I was in college about what sport was the best to watch in person. And at the time, student council would give out tickets. We'd have tickets, $5 tickets to different sporting events. So everybody had seen a football, it was in one of my sports management classes. So everyone had seen a football game in person in the class. Everyone had seen a baseball game in person. So we all went, everybody kind of was hey, let's go get tickets. Let's go see a basketball game together, because not everyone had seen basketball in person, like an NBA game. But we got tickets to the hockey game. And I'll never forget, if you guys remember a couple of years ago, I think they had Snoop Dogg announcing a hockey game, but a couple of years ago, they had that one guy from St. Louis who was tweeting, who ended up announcing a game as a color commentator after he was tweeting about it. Oh my God, yo, there's a dude in the box and they're playing with less players. And the guys, a lot of the other students from my class who were from in the inner city area who'd never seen hockey, we came back and they were like, oh my God, this sport is the most amazing thing to watch in person. The puck's over here, there's a fight breaking out over here. They play, and it was just what the guy was tweeting. They're they play with less guys at one point. Somebody's got more. You can pull your goalie, and they were just and hockey became in our class was voted the most the best sport to watch in person. And I think there's been other polls too where people who go to see hockey games are oh my God, this is a trip when you see it in person. It's so much more exciting than any other sport out there. I'm football is a little different, close, where you have the big play. You can see it happen depending, if you're sitting. So I kind of sitting a little higher for football games. You see the hole open up better. You see the the receiver get past the defenders deep. So there's that, but it's hockey for me has always been that sport that you have to watch in person, which kind of goes with baseball. The 2 sports that you really need to see in person don't do well on TV ratings.
Yeah. And to hockey, I know at least 5 people have come to mind, including myself, who would not consider themselves hockey fans, but would go to any hockey game. Oh, hockey, yeah, sure, I will go, because when you go, the first hockey game I went to, it was at the Meadowlands. We were at the track. We won a little money. We're and it was when Gretzky had just gotten to the Kings. We're the Kings are in town. So that was the first time. So granted, I'm spoiled. The first game I see is Gretzky, but still, it is a different. Yeah, some sports need to be seen in person. And baseball might become the opera, there's still people who love the opera, and the Metropolitan Opera, you cannot get a ticket. It's still crazy expensive, but maybe it becomes shishi-foo-foo, and that's what's going to happen to baseball, because you got to be there.
So one of those things where after a while you're going to have a fine night out sort of thing.
No, I can't even try that.
Absolutely. Oh, God, yes. You could eventually just 10 levels of fantastic.
You could eventually see baseball stadiums get smaller, become more minor league based. But like Obie said, less seats, pricier tickets, and it'll become a real bougie event. Okay, we're going to go to the game, and
which, by the way, let me point this out. So, like I said, we were at the Mets game over the weekend. We bought the tickets when they opened up sectional seating. the tickets were expensive for two people. Very, very, very expensive at their time. Guess what they ended up doing like about a week and a half after I bought these really expensive tickets?
Cutting the prices.
Cut the prices because they suddenly opened up more seating. So instead of being, my $34 tickets, which I actually paid $125 each for, just looked at it as a missed opportunity. They don't mention that when they open up the seats and everything like that, but it was fun. It was a good experience, good environment. And you know what? It was 50 degrees when we froze our asses off. But so
see, they didn't give you like a discount afterwards, like people next to you buying seats for 34. See, that's what bothers me. That's why I don't see myself going to baseball games anytime in the near future because of that. Like you bought those tickets in good faith when they were like $100-something, and then they open up the seats next to you for 34. They should at least have the decency to credit you some money. Be like, hey, you know what? You bought this in good faith. Because here's the thing. Chances are they credit you some money. They go, we're going to give you, we'll credit your money. You're going to spend that money at the ballpark anyway. Like you're going to go buy refreshments. You're going to go buy souvenirs. But now, they kind of stuck it to you. And you're like, you know what? No, now I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to leave because you already got all my money. Like I could have spread that money around in so many other ways that were beneficial to the organization. But you chose to kind of just stick it to you. They chose to stick it to you with the ticket price. So
that's a fair point. I don't know. When I bought it, it wasn't that bad because I was making good money on that the Project Severance, so the Apple TV series. So I really didn't mind it that much. But now in hindsight, it's kind of like, well, yeah, I could have used that money somewhere else.
Well, it doesn't even have to be that. It could be like anyone who's ever shopped at Kohl's knows about Kohl's Cash. They keep giving you this free money that you have to go spend, so you keep spending it. So. If they gave you, they said, okay, well, we're going to give you the ticket price came down $70, so we're going to give you $40 in Mets cash. And you can only spend $20, two $20 tickets, and one is good today and one is good in a future date, any date but today. You would have spent the 20 plus some, and then you would have been forced to come back to another game, buy another ticket, because you would have been sitting there with that $20 that you're like, I got to spend it.
Exactly.
Yeah, make it like store credit, City Field cash. Go here, spend it however else you want.
So, all right, so we got about 20 minutes left. We're actually overdue, so it's time now. Rebecca, Eduardo, if you guys can pull up the video. One of the questions I have for you guys is, when it comes to sports, is there anything out there that basically you thought, you know what this sport needs more of? It needs more electricity. So, welcome to Taser Ball. It is what they have is they actually have the whole idea is that you have a gigantic soccer ball that you run with, score goals, and yes, you are carrying a taser with the purposes of trying to get the other players to let go of it. It is between 3 to 5 milliamps, which does not cause permanent damage, but does cause muscle spasms and drop you like a rock. So this right here is the sport of taser ball. It has basically been, it's on its way out because it's been deemed a little bit too dangerous. There is a set medic on the sidelines at all times in case there's massive amounts of injury. But the whole idea, as you can basically see, is that it's perfectly acceptable to just stab a guy with a working taser to have him let go of the ball. Nice little behind the back shot right there. Yeah, I know. Bounce a ball off the guy's head. Yeah, I came across this one earlier today when I was trying to figure out what to run with it. I'm like, yeah, sold. Just sold. So, as always, we're going to do our usual obscurity, stupidity, playability, watchability. Open to get your ideas on this one right now. Give me some thoughts. Give me some ideas. Obie, I'm not sure where this is going to rate as far as your, top 10 ball sports.
Yeah, it's definitely going to get into that score. It's going to get into the score of the ball, I'm pretty sure.
Like I said, I pulled this video actually from a YouTuber called Little Known Sports Lover, so props where it belongs there. But Obie, do you want to start it off?
Sure, I will. This is odd. I mean, I know it's a very typical score the ball sport in and of itself, but it's odd. Like, it's crazy because it's like you're literally.
Rebecca, do you mind running it again? Is that possible?
You're using
Thank you.
A weapon. Like, this is not just like a modified weapon. It's like a full. You can see down.
Right in the armpit.
Yeah, you have to aim it well. He's like, And like later towards it, they got the fat guy running. Like all he's doing, like I don't play defense. I just taser somebody. Maybe some of these clothes are like taser proof because that guy got like zapped like 6 times in the back and he just kept running. Like you got to go for the arm. I don't know how a taser fully works.
I was looking. If you watch coming up, the guys in the blue, they're I guess they're from the LA team. The LA like lights up. It was flashing. I'm like, wait, does that like light up if you get tased? Like that's how they know you got tasers? It's like laser tag.
Or maybe that's how it deflects. It takes the taser and keeps it off of your body by yeah, they're all lighting up. Look at that.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Obscurity and A. Like I never heard of this shit. Oh.
I didn't hear it.
It happened. We finally had it happen on this show, and it wasn't me or Scott. Yes, but that is so appropriate.
Like, is something? Apologies to my family.
We'll fix it in post.
Playability and no, I'm not out here for getting tasered. I will give it a D because it's only being tasered. And maybe if I was a guy just with the taser, not trying to score. And watchability, I wanted to be higher, but I just came in at a C. Like it's just like we had fun with it, and maybe in the stands it'd be fun because you just also see guys start fishing out and stuff. But it's not quite violent enough because it's just a quick jab. Like
it's all you need though. It's all you have to do.
And let's see, does it make it scoring the ball?
Okay.
No, it's not going to break into the top 5. It's not. Does not get to score the ball top 5.
Have we done that many at this point that actually somehow didn't break the top 5?
Well,
I don't even know how many we've done at this point.
Well, when I keep the volleyballs get in the score the ball section, so that really helps bring it down. And Bushkashi is number 5 on that list. So it still didn't quite pass Bushkashi. It was close in my mind. I really was thinking about it, but it would have been number 6.
By the way, I'd just like to point out for the record that I really, really like not sending it to you ahead of time.
Yeah, this is so much better than like, oh my God. Well, you know what? Truthfully, I'll own it. When we first started, I didn't really watch the videos. Like I would watch them when you premiered them. So like that's why I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like
awesome.
I was like, I kind of was in that mode, so it's perfect for you. Oh my God. But yeah, for me, the oddity, obscurity, A. Like stupidity, A. Like Obie hit it right on the head. Like tasers, we can't even play that in New Jersey because I'm pretty sure tasers are banned. Like you can't have tasers in New Jersey. I think it's either New York or New Jersey. One of the two, you're not allowed to have them. Like I know they were against the law for a while.
I did a commercial in New York with a taser. I don't know if that means
okay. But yeah, man, it was this is watchability. Like get me Rob Riggle to do the color commentary and like somebody gets it in the cheek, like in the face, in the face. Like playability, I'm like, it's like I want to give it a higher score, but I'm like, I don't know if I can. I'm like, electricity. I'm like, oh, how much is it gonna hurt? Like, am I gonna? Like, I could see myself playing this game and like peeing my pants from either laughing or being tased so many times. Like, just get like on the floor, like spazzing, like literally looking like Zach Galifianakis in like The Hangover, just like like spazzing out or something.
Sometimes you need a second shot.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, A's on tops and like B+ and B- on the bottom for it. This was hysteria. This is great. Like I want to try to like find a place where they play this and watch it in person just to see how bonkers it really is.
I don't know. Like I said, it was one of those things that I think people had a problem with the fact that that injuries were actually happening. Because again, when you drop like a rock, you could land on some part of your body, you could land on somebody else. So there is that kind of an issue and that kind of a concern. As far as the actual sport itself goes, I don't know how long it goes on for. I know it's like a 200 by 85 foot field, so you have plenty of running room. But did you covered your 4, right?
Yeah. So oddity, obscurity A, stupidity A, and then watchability B+, playability B-.
Okay, so playability, what'd you say?
B-, only because I don't know how much it would potentially hurt. But like you said, you made great points. Like your nervous system and even your heart like you get hit the right spot, like it's shocking your system, and it could cause. I could see that's probably one of the biggest issues is the cardio of like your heart effect. That your heart starts skipping beats or something because you're getting shocked so many times in a game.
And additionally,
and your heart rate's already raised because you're
yeah. So, but yeah, for me, I mean, oddity, obscurity, A, stupidity, A, playability. I'm going to give it a B. I think it's one of those things that I'd be willing to try once. And by once, I mean probably once until I got tased and I'm like, screw this, I'm out. I think it's one of those things that like I said, I'm curious about it. You know, I do have a little extra man padding, granted, not as much as I used to, but I still have that sort of like Zach Galifianakis or more Vincent D'Onofrio kind of bod going on. So I might be able to take it a little bit more than some like thin people could, but I'd be willing to just try it for the one time until I got tased and I'm like, screw it, I'm out. That's probably how I'd roll with it. But as far as watchability, I got to give it an A, especially in the stands, because I think it's just unbridled hilarity to see this, to watch this, to see what it can be like. And I mean, I think if you're local to a team, you probably also know the players well enough to know who are the good taserers. Who are the prime ones? The defenders, you got the offense, whatever it ends up being. So you got your guys that are the left-handed tasers, the right-handed tasers. But yeah, I don't know. I came across a brand new list that Rob, you didn't even have, and I got.
You said what was little known sports fan on YouTube?
That's I got to follow that. Yeah, he's been inactive for a bunch of years. He only had a few videos, like 5 or 6 videos in this case. But I found today so many, and I've already pulled down so many videos. Some of them are just downright bizarre. Some are kind of funny. Some involve actually throwing like animal innards, which I'll get to at another point probably.
We know what my grades are going to be for that.
Yeah.
You want to take a guess what continent that one came from?
Yeah, probably the same one.
Yeah, Europe.
I always wonder though with this taser ball too, like how does sweat factor in? Like towards the end of the match where you're sweating and they're like you basically become a conductor.
Water and electricity, yeah.
Yeah, just like
that's
does it do anything to your hair later?
So you like is that like a trick? Like you got the ball in one hand and you grab somebody from the other team with your other hand and it just like it becomes like it shoots through you and takes them out like.
So, like I said, I'll see what happens. Maybe I'll try it one day. Maybe we'll get a game going.
Oh yeah.
So, anyway, we got about 10 minutes left at this point already. This is the Sports Den. You can find us on Twitter at SSW Sports Den and on Facebook at Spangler Sports Den. I want to spend a couple of minutes we've got right now, not only basically previewing what we've got coming up in a few weeks, which Rob, you have no clue on. I'm going to get you caught up to speed on that. And then also at the same time, I want to talk a little bit about the Knicks because they are in danger of being out. Now, one of the things that we talked about last week is if they are out quickly and a 5-game series would be considered that, do you still consider it a successful season if they lose in 5 games at home?
Yeah. Like I said, we said last week, they're playing with house money. And I kind of look at it too as and kind of another shout out is like to Trae Young. Like people don't realize he is like channeling his inner MJ right now. Like he ain't talking. He's just going out there and playing. Like the fans spit on him and it literally just rolled off his back like water off a duck's back. Like he was just like, okay, this is how you want to be. I'm just going to go out here and beat you on the scoreboard. I'm going to drop, 20, 30 points a night and we're going to beat you. And that's what he's been doing. That's kind of been overlooked by the whole, like here in New York, they're overlooking it. They're like, oh, Julius Randle's not playing well. Some of these guys are just out of gas, man. I think they may have spent a little too much in the regular season, but they made the playoffs. They didn't have to go to the play-in tournament. It's a win for them. There's already talk like the Knicks fans celebrated that first win. Like people were making fun of them, like, oh, they act like they won the finals. It was a first round playoff win, but it's from where they came from to now to be in the playoffs and be competing again with all the drama and the turmoil and how bad the team was and how bad Dolan was. Like they seem to have gotten out of that rut and they're hoping to build on that. So, and I think not having fans there in 2020, things got a little out of control early on with the fans, like the chants and spitting on Trae Young. So I think next year they'll be a little more controlled, but it's not a bust if they get knocked out in 5.
Now, see, to me personally, I think it is a disappointing season. because they came into the 4th spot. It wasn't like that they were in the 8th spot and they had no shot. This was the number 4 seed. So from that particular perspective, I would have expected more from them. Devils eked into the playoffs a couple of years back after a many-year hiatus, and they just got crushed by Tampa. That, to me, was a disappointing season because you never got past that first round. So to me, that's just my take on it. Getting to the playoffs, I think, wasn't enough, especially when you land at the number 4 spot. Get past the first round, I'll give it to you, but no.
I'm with Rob here. They weren't supposed to make the playoffs. So already in basketball, when you make the playoffs, you're not supposed to. That usually means you're an 8th seed, maybe a 7th seed. But they got to 4. But I think, Rob, you hit it on right there. They played so above their level throughout so much of the season that they're burnt. Atlanta, on the other hand, was supposed to be here. This is where Atlanta was supposed to be. They were supposed to be a 4 or 5 seed. And they played a little below their level. So I feel like, no, I'm not. They did way better than they should have. They should have been in the play-in game. If you had asked me at the beginning of the season, as a matter of fact, I owe somebody a little something because, I'm like, yeah, your Knicks aren't winning 30 games. They're not happening. So in basketball, when you have this kind of season, I think it is a big deal. In basketball, anything can't happen. It's basketball is very predictable. Especially compared to hockey and baseball. So the Knicks did the unpredictable. They are as big a story in my mind as last year's Heat was. To go from the 5th seed into the playoffs, to get to the 5th seed for the Knicks this year was monstrous. Flip side is it doesn't change. It now sets expectations for next year.
Oh, yeah.
So now next year they're a 5th seed, only a 5th seed, and something went wrong. Like next year they better be a 4th seed and they better win. So that's the difference. You're not supposed to go backwards for no reason. So,
but I think if they land 5th seed and still win the first round, that forgives it.
Yeah.
The end result.
Yeah, yes. But still, they're going to be looking to be that 4th, 5th seed after the same teams that are 1, 2, and 3 this year, unless something major happens in the offseason.
Fair.
Yeah, I think they would have been better off. I think they overshot too much. They overachieved too much. If they were the 5 seed and Atlanta had home court, it'd be completely different. It'd be a completely different perspective because I think it could have been the 5 seed and still skip the playoff tournament play-in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's having the whole, and I think having home court advantage was a disadvantage for them because the expectations were so high about coming back to the Garden and playing in front of fans and everything. And I think if they had 2 games on the road to kind of take that edge away, they'd come back and be like, okay, we're coming home. So if you split 1 and 1 at home on the road, you come home to an advantage. So let's say they overachieved and there's nothing to be ashamed of, like I said, and Derrick Rose is not the same Derrick Rose that was on the Bulls. He's older. Minutes are an issue. Julius Randle's in great shape this year, but it's still he played a lot of minutes during the regular season. He carried that team. So I think he's just out of gas too. And Atlanta is just a tough team for them to match up with. People don't realize how effective and how much of a presence Clint Capella is in the paint with blocking shots and rebounding. He gave the Warriors nightmares a couple of years ago when he was in Houston. He was a problem for them because they had no one to match up with him.
We'll find out. But all right, so we only got a couple minutes left. I just want to preview what's coming up towards the end of this month and moving forward. Coming up next week, tentatively scheduled, is Lawrence Simpson again. He is best known as Masako X, or the voice of Goku in Dragon Ball Z Abridged. I know we talked about it last week, but we are talking about Formula One because Baku, Azerbaijan is actually happening over the weekend. So we're going to be talking about that one. Also coming up in the near future is I've actually gotten a good connection with a YouTuber called Toy Quest 101. The guy's name is Miguel Figueroa. He actually used to be the MMA coach for now wrestler Sonya Deville. So we're going to have him on. Yeah. So
I'm a big Sonya fan. And I'm like, I know that name from somewhere. And I was like, he may have actually trained one of my buddies who used to be an MMA fighter too.
He had a few of them. Yeah. I mean, we've been talking back and forth. We usually swap about 2 emails a day right now. But he has a YouTube channel called Toy Quest 101. It's a great channel for him. He uses it to promote autism awareness and pop culture at the same time. And they've had some really good guests on. Actually, I'm kind of jealous on personally. But we've gotten to know each other pretty well. We're collabing on the YouTube side of things. And in this case, yeah, he's talking about coming on. He's going to figure it out. We're going to make it work. Probably in the next, I don't know, probably 2-3 weeks he'll be on. But to talk Sonya Deville, to talk MMA, his channel, and everything else that he's got going on. So Miguel will be on at some point pretty soon. So anyway, that's pretty much going to do it. Do you gentlemen have any final thoughts?
Obie, shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Me and my Scott and I, we get Adam Douglas from Fanjecture back on. We'll be talking sports and movies and the intersection of those again. Different than last time. Be good stuff.
Nice. I still have that Kahlua over here, by the way. I haven't finished it yet. It was supposed to go to my mother-in-law last night. So, Rob, any other thoughts for you, sir?
One for me, just like I said, follow me on social media at the Rob Stats. There were some donut pictures posted this past weekend, some ice cream sandwiches, pictures up by you, Scott. Stack Creamery in Westfield. Very good.
Okay.
Ice cream Sammys.
Actually, that's not, well, Westfield's kind of, you know.
Yeah, well, it's up by Paramus. So highly recommended for sure.
Nice. So, yeah, like I said, I had the Mets game over the weekend. That was pretty much it. So, all right, that is pretty much going to do it for us. This show is available on 35 plus different platforms across 4+ different continents. Antarctica is on the rise. For myself, Mr. Scott Churchson, for Mr. Rob Stats, and Mr. Obie Spencer, this has been the Sports Den. Find us one more time on Twitter at SSW Sports Den and also on Facebook at Spangler Sports Den. On behalf of myself, the Queen Rob Stats down there. Yeah, put it right there, pretty much. But it's really hard to do. And then over there is actually, right there is Obie, and then down there is Rob. This has been the Sports Den. Thank you as always. Drop us a message, thoughts, comments, ideas, compliments, or complaints. Have a great day. Together, let's make it a great tomorrow. Be good.